What my books?
I see your books.
Bismillah.
Okay, we're going live. We're on live. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima alamtana wa zidna ilma. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'awtahu sahla wa anta taj'alul hazna idha shi'ta sahla. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, today's our beautiful gathering with our beloved Imam Sulaimaan Hamed from the Atlanta Masjid of Islam. And we're going to have our second episode of the Black Imams Roundtable.
Black man too.
Yeah, Black Imam, Black man, Black man too. We're going to, this is our gathering. So it's not a gathering where we're going to be formal, no political correctness, just love, brotherhood, talking to our leadership as we know how to talk to one another. Open, free talk. We want dialogue. So be sure to put your questions and comments and share with us during this time. We intend to take an hour and a half. If the Imam is feeling it, maybe we may end up with 2 hours. Allahu A'lam. But thank you for already putting Hajj Pros and Black Muslims Matter. Y'all on it. May Allah
That's it. Bismillah.
Didn't leave
My
out
wife and children.
They ready to go. They warmed up. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Inshallah. So we're, Imam, as we mentioned, we want to start talking about the place of Islamic knowledge, sacred knowledge within the Black community, and how we're going to establish in our masajid around the country this sacred knowledge. But first, I think we should take a historic approach to this and tell us about the history of yourself in Islam and the Atlanta Masjid of Islam and what you understand from our Islamic culture as blacks here in America. First, open the dialogue with that, inshallah.
Bismillah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Muhammad. Well, I want to first thank you, Imam Amin, the community of the historic Masjid Muhammad in Atlantic City. I have a sister-in-law who lives in Orange. And from what I understand from New Jersey people, you got to distinguish between East Orange and Orange, right? So we have a close relationship. My wife says if we ever move somewhere out of Atlanta where we are now, New Jersey has a good running, of places that we may come, alhamdulillah. But myself, my little history about me, I come from, originally I'm from Oakland, California. My parents were born Christian, like many of our parents, right? They met in college in Oakland. And they were activists. So my parents were members of the Black Panther Party, the real Black Panther Party, the original Black Panther Party. And that's just, some people say that, but I've met Eldridge Cleaver. He's been in my home as well as his son. We have the pictures of my parents with them in that history of time. But my parents were spiritual people, And as we know, if you don't know the history of the Black Panther Party, there wasn't much spirituality in that. And so they were seeking something where they could still fulfill their activism role, but have some spirituality in it. And what was that? That was that great historic movement that was led at that particular time by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And for anybody who has a problem with me as a Sunni Muslim saying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, let me just help you out. Quran says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa laqad karamna kulli bani Adam. We have made all the sons, all of the children of Adam honorable. And so just like when you go to court and you call Judge Smirnoff honorable judge, I call the Honorable Elijah Muhammad honorable because he's done so much for me and my family and the world, right? So they heard the message of that great group and that great leader, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in that time, and they joined the Nation of Islam. My parents did, my father and my mother while they were in college. And then upon the passing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they were Muslims, and they followed the guidance and the direction of his son, Imam Warithuddin Muhammad, rahimahullah, who for thousands of Muslims around the world and thousands of Muslims around America followed his guidance to what we call today Sunni Islam and Orthodox Islam. So I was born in that. I was born in 1980, so you can do the math on my age, right? Which was after the transition, that language that we use as far as transitioning from that great movement of upliftment of Black people and upliftment of African Americans to guiding people to Quran and guiding people to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was done by Imam Warithuddin Muhammad. That's my little history about me. I was in Oakland. My wife, she's from New York, actually. As I mentioned, her sister's still in Jersey, but my wife from 7C, raised up in Mushi Khalifa in that community right there. Her parents are the Sharif. Some people know them, the Panamanian family that was there. Then they went to Miami. They were down there in Miami. Me and my, so we have that same history. And then that history led us here to Atlanta, where we are now. And leading and progressing with one of the biggest communities in our association, the Community Association of Communities who recognize and identify with Imam Warithuddin Muhammad as our teacher. We're here in Atlanta, alhamdulillah. That's a little history about my Islamic, self-raised Claire Muhammad School and all of that stuff. We get a little bit more of my fancy education like you, Imam, when I'm trying to catch up with you. But alhamdulillah, that's what, like the most that American Muslim, African American Muslims in America, that history, is what's me. Alhamdulillah, for those who don't know me, that's your brother. Alhamdulillah.
So one thing that why I wanted to have that history, because a lot of times it is the past that make the person he is in the present.
Yes, sir.
Right. And like you went through those movements as I embrace what I understood to be Islam at that time when I was 10 years old, which was through the Ansar Allah community in Brooklyn, New York. Right. And I was raised up all the way in that community till I was like 17 years old. And then I went 18 years old, I went overseas. So I had that same Black culture, background, Black movement. I understand that. And for me, I think it's important for us not to forget where we came from, to understand where we're at and have a clear direction where we need to go. So I think that's very important to discuss that. And as we're talking about, as you're now the Imam of the Atlanta Masjid of Islam, and I'm Imam of Masjid Muhammad. So from our side, Masjid Muhammad has a 65-year history. We were temple number 10 in the Nation of Islam in Atlantic City. And then, in 1975, when the leadership changed to Imam Warithuddin Muhammad, rahimahullah, we became World Community of Islam, we became Masjid Muhammad, and all the way up for 30 years under the leadership of our former Imam, Imam Khairi Shakur, rahimahullah, and in my leadership. So this is African leadership for 65 years. And I think we shouldn't forget those things, because there's a lot of things that we need to learn from that history. So I wanted to discuss that was from our side. What about the Atlanta Masjid of Islam?
Alhamdulillah. Absolutely. So, I'd be remiss, and I know some of my townsfolks, and when I say townsfolks, I mean Oakland town. They'll be sending me messages that I didn't recognize my foundation. My foundation is Oakland, California, right? Okay. And in that, and I'm saying that's important historically, because that is really the only place where Imam Muhammad was actually a resident imam. You know, we use that language, right? That's one of the only places that he was the resident imam, which is currently under the leadership of one of my mentors and one of my teachers, Imam Fahim Shuaib. May Allah preserve him and give him strength at Masjid Warithin there in Oakland. And that place is very significant, you know, and we can get a little bit more controversial a little later on, because that's where that person by the name of Imam Muhammad Abdullah, which on the record, some people say is that mysterious teacher that was known as Farad Muhammad, and he shifted back to his other identity. But that's a whole nother one. We don't have to get into that on this particular call, but or this particular conversation. But yes, that you know, in Oakland we were 25 and 26, or 25A and 25B, I believe it was. Atlanta, they were 15. So Atlanta actually were before Oakland, and the people who don't understand that history in the Nation of Islam, where you were established as a organized and recognized center of dawah, and I'm using that language in our time. That's they were doing dawah and introducing people to Allah and introducing people to Muhammad. You got your number in the order that you were recognized, right? So Oakland came a little later. And so Atlantic City, you know, y'all was winning. y'all beat us on that, and Atlanta did too. You know what I'm saying? It took a little while to get out here to get out there to the East Coast. But the foundation of having these centers who were focused on developing and upliftment of our people, and the upliftment and developing of our particular communities and our unique needs. I come from that Oakland Foundation, and Atlanta and Oakland, for those who are in the Association of Imam Muhammad, we know because we had the schools. We had Claire Muhammad School in Oakland, where my mother was the principal and director. And then we had Atlanta, where Sister Safia Shaheed, for the majority of that time, was the principal and established and made Atlanta what it is today. So we had a nice little rivalry going on, you know, between the two schools of Oakland and Atlanta. But and we're connected like that. You know, people should know that about you and I, our relationship and our connection with Masjid Muhammad, Atlanta Masjid, Masjid Worthy in Oakland, that we have this history of imams and leaders who were focused on developing and serving our people. We the biggest community of Muslims in America, right? Regardless of who got ijazas and license and this and that, we the biggest people. So there has to be a focus and a need for serving our unique constituencies, our unique groups of people, our jamaats, our communities like that. So, you know, yes, absolutely. That's a little bit more of the history.
What number was Atlanta, Masjid Atlanta?
Atlanta was 15.
15, okay. All right, mashallah.
And that was under Minister Abdul Rahman, who passed just recently. Big Red. If anybody saw that movie that they did about Muhammad Ali, he was instrumental in giving dawah to Muhammad Ali, bringing Muhammad Ali into Islam in Miami. And then Masjid Al-Ansar, which is the masjid where my wife was raised in Miami, that was her masjid where Imam Ahmed is now. All of that's connected to where, you know, these the people that brought these famous people into Islam and all of that, you know. So we'll start ranting.
You got everybody on the Facebook Live reminiscing about how they came to know about Islam and where they almost took Shahad and got Imam Naeem talking about in the 1990 he was going to be an Ansar.
Hey, when I reminisce over you, who was that?
they all reminisce.
And we have to do that. We got to recognize our foundation. Alhamdulillah.
Question. So, and this is something I always think about, talking about our people.
Yes.
And we all have, you know, developed in our understanding of Islam. I think that's been around the country and everybody who came from every different background. But from your view, what are some of the things that we all had to change and we had to develop? And that's obvious. Mm-hmm. What are the things that we left behind with that change that you think was really needed and that we need to revive in our communities today?
SubhanAllah. That's a beautiful question. Sheikh, I mean, I know you and I know your education, right? Everybody might not know the elevated position of your education. So, and I'm only saying that to say that, a lot of people say, well, we didn't know that much back then, and now we was focused on education and all of that. What was left behind was simply love for yourself. Straight up. And when I say love for yourself, meaning that I value me as an African American. I value me as a melanated person. I value me with my lineage and my history of the master, the creator of the planet Earth. For all them OGs who know that history. We've lost the fact that I just value me. And I've got to, unfortunately, we ain't got to organizational structure and following leadership and business and all that. We ain't got to that yet, because all of that wasn't even possible until I cared about me, man. I often think about Marcus Messiah Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, right? This man built a worldwide movement. Literally worldwide movement. They didn't have email. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have Twitter. They didn't have none of that stuff. But what did they have? They had care and love for myself, and that I'm willing to do some work for me and for my people to see us be uplifted. So what I think that's even more important, because part of what we're going to be talking about tonight is the call for sacred knowledge, right? Even more in that, we got to get back to just caring about Black people. We got to care about African Americans and know that there ain't nothing wrong with that. That don't mean that I don't like you because you from wherever, and I don't like her because she's from wherever, but I like me. I love me. And so getting back to just that love of self and understanding that there is Islamic foundation, there's Quranic foundation, there's foundation within the Uswa, within the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for me to love me and for me to do something for me. That's number one. After that is the understanding of the obligation. Listen now, the obligation. I'm old Imam, so I'm gonna start getting in my Imam mode.
That's right. Go for it, Black man. Talk back to me.
The obligation of you got to serve your people. You got all this fancy education and this degree and that degree, and you know how to this and do that. Well, what are you doing for your own people? What are you doing for your own community? If all your resources go outside of yourself, you no good to me. You're no good to us. You're not doing me no good. What did the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he say? He said that zakat or sadaqah starts in your home. Then it goes outside. So take that principle a little bit broader. The resources that you have, that starts inside of your home, and then you spread outside. So one, love of self. Two, understanding the obligation that whatever resources and value that I have to give it to my own people first. And it ain't nothing wrong with that. And it don't mean that I'm against nobody else. I just understand the obligation that I have from Allah. So how about that?
Well, and I want to know in the chat, we always going to have our disagreements, and believe me, this ain't going to be a circle or a gathering where we're not going to allow you to talk. So if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But if we start, I understand this, and I'm quite sure you know this, Imam, and we're going to talk about this. Every day, I learn more and more and more, right? Every day. Mm-hmm. I would say even in the last 6 months, I learned some stuff in my reading with my teachers and doing stuff that we read that more and more make me realize the significance of what you just said. Mm-hmm. And when I look at some of the ways we've been programmed to hate ourselves, we don't even realize that we hate ourselves sometimes. And the scale we put on ourselves, we don't put that scale on everyone else, right? So I say, okay, we can have those discussions, and mashallah, we'll have them. They're open, right? And And we're going to educate ourselves, because we would jump, and this is what bothers me a lot. And just we sharing. We would jump on our people who were misguided. But today, I told you, you're going to open up doors for me. But today, you got people who got just as much misguidance as our people had, if not worse.
Right.
Still misguiding our people, but you don't have the same feeling for them.
Right.
Because they come from Saudi Arabia or something. I have a serious problem with that, but that's another discussion. We'll have that. So what I ask everyone, I'll quote from my Imam Naeem, we didn't get to that yet. When we get there, we'll address your thing. Just be patient. If you can't be patient, come back when we get to your topic. Come on. I borrowed that from Imam Naeem. But the other aspect that I noticed, and it related to what you said, is what I noticed coming up in the Ansars, that what I wish that we have today, all the knowledge and all these things that we have, is that we had that love for one another, and we built communities that were for, by, and of ourselves.
Yes.
I always say like this, I know the commitment, and I say this myself, the commitment I had as a kid in Ansar law community, and the stuff we used to do and the brothers would do, I wish we would do a third of that in our communities.
Right.
To give you an example, it was a known fact for all of the pubescent adult males, we would go out every single day, 365 days a year. Maybe one time we would take Eid al-Fitr off, and we would bring back to the community $100 a day.
SubhanAllah.
And in New York, we had sometimes up to 200, 300 brothers out. So you're talking about bringing in $20,000 to $30,000 every single day to our community. This is what was going on.
Right.
So these things help build. We built Masjid from the ground up. We had our own schools. Everybody say about learning Arabic. You know, I learned Arabic in the Ansar community. That's where I learned Arabic. That's where I got my foundation of Arabic language. In our schools, the kids spoke Arabic. So, and the same we found in other art communities where you had Sister Claire Muhammad schools, you had all these things, and you had business. Why do you think we was able to do that then and we struggle to do that now?
And I'll give an answer, but it'll be too controversial.
Give a controversy, and this is Black Talk. We can be controversial.
Because we still think the white
platform.
Because we still think the white man is God. That's why. And any time that a black man stand up and tell you do something for yourself and build something for yourself, but is it gonna be and what they gonna do with the money and all of that? Hogwash. And it has a lot to do with and you know, I'm gonna address this on Friday on our Ummah platform. That's part of that white supremacy poison that has gotten into our mind. Well, you know, and I have to keep reverting back to this, you know, of the foundation of my parents and how my parents came to Islam. Well, they was crooks. Everybody in the Nation of Islam, that ain't true. Everybody in the Nation of Islam was no crook. Some of them was, yeah, some of them was, but not everybody was. So we can't go back to that and blah, blah, blah. That's malarkey. And it has to do with people saying that they think that you're gonna get me in trouble, man. They think that the white man ice is colder. They think that his Kool-Aid. So now that we've gotten a taste of the European Americans' ice, and we've gotten a taste of his Kool-Aid, now we all skeptical about our Kool-Aid and about our ice, right? And then even more challenging than that, you got a whole generation now, Imam, you know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you your age. We got a whole generation. They don't know nothing about that. They don't know the obligation that you had to go out and bring in that $100. They don't know the obligation that you had to go out and sell them 1,000 papers. They don't know that. They think, well, I can choose to make my donation to Wow. Man, this is your community. You're obligated to serve and to put, because we ain't getting no money from nowhere else. We ain't getting no grant and donation from, over there. We ain't getting that money. They scared to give it themselves, and they want to be, said that they all right with them people. So we have to re-educate in the minds. It's amazing, as I sit back, alhamdulillah, one of the unique things about Atlanta, we have a very intergenerational community, very intergenerational. We have people that are literally in their 90s that come to Juma every week and sit and listen to the khutbah. And we have people like my son, who's, well, I think he's 12. He's going to get mad at me when he sees this. And my daughter and my children, right? So we have that large spectrum, and we have those 30-somethings. There's a large group of people in between that they never met Imam Isa. They don't know what that even means, right? They never met Imam. They've read about it. They never met Imam Muhammad. They think they know what that means. And so they really have never actually been led by an actual leader and actually understand the obligation of what it is to be a part of a community, and the obligation that you got to put some money on the table. You got to put your money where your mouth is, and not just, think that I could just be a part of this thing and not actually serve. So what is the problem? Is that we have a large group of people who have failed to understand that you are obligated. This is your obligation. It's your community. And all of your criticisms and all of that, that's fine. As leaders, we welcome those. If you're sincere, we welcome those constructive criticisms. We welcome those ideas of how we can develop and be of service. But people have our parents, alhamdulillah, that generation knew what it meant to actually do something for self. And so, it's a lot of lip service with this generation. I'm doing this and I'm doing this. But 1 minute, they'll turn their back on you just like that and be somewhere else serving some other interest because you didn't, you didn't, dance. You didn't do the WAP like they wanted you to do the WAP, and you did the two-step because that's what you were used to. So now you don't know how to dance, So we have to remind them and get them to understand that you are obligated. It's an obligation upon you to develop and build your own community. Let me just put one more on, Imam. You think about the Sahaba. Think about the Sahaba. They would literally compete, right? And we have that beautiful picture of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar radiallahu anhu, who were competing to give their money. And Umar realized, he said, man, I'll never be able to outdo Abu Bakr. But what was the point there? The principle was, follow logic to the conclusion, they understood the obligation that they had to give of those resources that they had to spread da'wah, to establish community. We have to get our people these days to understand you're obligated. And if you ain't doing it, we might put your name on the other list with them other people.
Question. So, and I want everybody to know we're getting your questions, but so right now I just saw statements. I ain't saw no questions. So
what did they say? What they say about me?
You know what you got in trouble for already. Don't act like you don't know. Only black people can't be honorable. Only Arabs, even if they from pagan Arab history,
come on now.
They could be honorable. They could tell their history. But you talk about black people.
Hey, let me tell you something else about this discussion, though. Let me give them one more thing that they have to understand about the history. Fard Muhammad was an Indian. Fard Muhammad was a Pakistani. So that minhaj for you, ulama, who and I say it in Arabic if you want me to, and go read that dissertation by the sister from Howard University. She might not want me to say her name. You gave us that. Them people gave us that. But in the will of Allah, because I'm saying, I'm saying this as a student of Imam Muhammad, born Sunni Muslim. for them people who try and discredit the great works of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You crazy. And if you want to, yeah, we talking, ain't we? And you crazy. And you got to know the history of the what was of the Islamic foundation of that came from an immigrant. It came from somebody else. But you wouldn't know the name Allah. You wouldn't know the name Muhammad. You wouldn't know nothing about halal. You wouldn't know nothing about akhlaq and all of those things. That came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who developed that. And I'll tell you one more thing. Like one of our teachers here, and I'm gonna leave people's names out. They just put me on another extremist site the other day, so I don't want to attach too many people to my name. But he said about that group, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam. And yes, I'm making a distinction, but don't get your feelings hurt if you're in the current Nation of Islam. I'm talking a historical thing here. He said that was a social group that identified and had Islamic tenets. We ain't no sex in Islam, S-E-C-T-S. The Nation of Islam is not a sect. That was a group that had Islamic identities, and the Islam of the foundation that came from an immigrant. So when you're gonna go protest, go over there and protest over there. But our brother, our imam, our leader, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the father of our imam, who introduced us to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, is honorable. And if you got a problem with that, you got a problem with yourself. Now, if they don't like my post after that, I'm sorry. But you know, I got to get on myself.
But here's my thing. See, because if we're going to be fair, I had to tell one of my students who became my sheikh, who's an Azhari now, we always apply a scale for black people and a scale for the others, right?
Yeah.
So,
and the black man can't be weight. He can't have no weight. Come on now. Y'all crazy.
No, but here's my point, what I mean by that. Because I use my whole Malcolm idea. You've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, run them up. Because the same people, and all of us, we got to realize this. If we have a real conversation, no matter who you talking about, that ain't us. If we put our shovel in them, you're going to see those same flaws and errors and mistakes. They might not be at the same level. You're going to find that, right?
Yes.
And you ain't going to give them the same credit.
Right.
So you'll still say about certain people, Imam, Sheikh, Rahimahullah, and none of them believe that Allah was a jism sitting on the throne.
Hey, and come on now, because I know what you're saying. Give him one even further. What did Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when you read the seerah, he said, and I can't give you the text right now, so forgive me, but he laughed and said he remembered in the days of Jahiliyyah, and he just reminiscing about how misguided they was. But this is Umar radiallahu anhu, al-Faruq, right? The one who it is reported to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Well, kana nabiyyan min ba'di wa huwa Umar." If it was a prophet who came after me, it would be Umar, meaning the dedication upon the deen of him. He said he laughed that in the daytime they'd make their idol out of dates, right? Dates that you just finished eating for Ramadan, and then in the evening they get hungry and they eat their God. They eat that idol that they just made, and you know what happens after you eat. Are you going to have the nerve and be that high and mighty of yourself to try and think that you can say that you're better than Umar radiallahu anhu? So again, we got to come off of our high horse, but it is all stems from white supremacy. Like you said, dig down in your own guy and you'll see some of that date eating in him too. But you know, that's the black man can't have nothing. We can't even have flaws. And
no, but I'm just saying, and that's just and for me, I'm realizing, and I'm saying that I'm realizing, first of all, and we're gonna have to be honest, and that's part of the talk we're coming to. We're just warming up the stage, I guess, opening act or something before the right, because we have a long way to go. And to understand where we got to go, we got to understand where we're from. As I told, we had a discussion earlier. When people want to say, we don't want to talk about our history. But all of us who study the seerah of the Prophet, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi wa ala alihi, when we read the seerah, the first aspect we come across is a bunch of mushrikoons and how they lived.
Right. Right.
And we talk about them with karam, with honor, with sharaf, with nobility. Right. And we talking about people who worshipped idols.
Yes, sir.
And we speak about them even when we talk about Quraysh and we talk about, they were idol worshippers.
Right, and then they ate the idols at nighttime.
And we talk about them. They were people of karam, people of sharaf, people of nobility, people of honor, people of generosity. And there are similitudes for them in the Arabic language. When we talk about our religious stuff, we talk about pre-Islamic Jahiliyyah poetry.
Yes.
And we use it as evidences. These were all mushrikun. Did we say, okay, because they mushriks, we take nothing from them, they were just wicked? No one did that. The Arabs don't do it. The Indians didn't do it. None of them, except the black man. And that's part of the slavery telling us that.
Hey,
if that's the case, don't tell me nothing about pre-Islamic history. It don't make a difference. They were all kuffar, idiots who worshipped idols.
Allah.
But we don't say that. In all of our books of seerah, in fact, if you don't study the pre-Islamic knowledge and history, you don't understand Islam properly.
Allah. So that's part of the.
We got to start being brave enough to fix this narrative. This part of not talking about the black man, talking about himself. Our history don't count. Only the history of others count. Only their achievements in the state of ignorance count. Our achievements are undermined, and because we wasn't on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, we wasn't on the Sunnah, then we don't have no value. Man, get the heck out of here.
Hey, you said it nicer than me. And that's part of...
John's not here. We got to wait for Imam for the first words. No,
that's part of the call for sacred knowledge. Is when you actually start studying, and you actually start studying with a free mind, with an independent mind, and not a mind that's on a leash. You know what I'm saying? You understand, and you see yourself, and you see your own interest in in the history. So we have to remind our people it absolutely is within the foundational text, in the fundamental text, to have this interest in yourself and this interest in ourselves. And anybody to tell you nothing other than that is a charlatan. They're scam artists, and they might have you drink Kool-Aid on an island somewhere. You know what I mean? If you keep it up, and you can't go for that. You know, so yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, and even if someone feel that way, I'm not going to take away your right to feel a certain way. What I am going to challenge, if you want to say someone's not honored, that ain't even an issue, because we're not arguing about his beliefs. No one's saying that there's a spaceship coming to get us, that the black man is God and the white man's the devil, and you Yaqub's grafted. No one's talking about that. We're talking about other things that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked about many people and their nobility in Jahiliyyah. And he talked about those good things, not about their kufr. He talked about the noble things they did that uplift the Arab people.
Absolutely.
He talked about it. And if someone want to sit and go proofs and evidences, that's easy. But only when it comes to black people, we don't get that. And I have a serious problem with that issue. We ain't talking about kufr. We ain't talking about believing some things. And then you made the biggest point, and we're going to move on. But because we all coming along.
What did they say in the comments? I can't see in the comments. What they say? They want to talk about something else.
They send him back to Oakland, not even Atlanta. No, Georgia. No, it ain't no hard comments. Some people, and they have a right, and that's a whole nother discussion, that they just don't agree with calling Elijah Muhammad honorable. That's it. That's nothing.
Do you call your, I'm sorry, man. Do you call your daddy honorable? Do you call your grandfather honorable? And
not,
again,
not after they learn da'wah to Salafiyya, they don't.
Listen, and when you go to court for that ticket for Judge Smirnoff, you absolutely say, yes, sir, Honorable Judge Smirnoff. Think about what you're saying. Think about what is the real reason that that's a difficult thing for you to do. The person who built up the largest movement in this country for indigenous people. Now, I'm gonna get on my soapbox now because yes, all of those other movements, but I just want to help that person along. You got a bigger problem in your mind. It don't got nothing to do with Akida. It really doesn't, because you didn't know Akida until 5 years ago, until Imam Amin taught you Akida. You didn't know nothing about no Akida. Come on now. Hey, I'm just saying, it's that one is like the craziest one that you can't bring it in your mind to call for all. Put religion aside. Put religion aside. Who was the leader of one of the, because there were some others, as we mentioned, the Ansar movement in this country. The largest group that introduced people to the word Allah, that introduced people to the name. That's not honorable, my dear short pants brother. Come on now. Well, I'm sorry. Let me not be rude.
All right.
Let me not be rude.
Well, that's another discussion. But what I'm going to do.
I'm sorry, whoever that was. That wasn't nice. That wasn't nice.
This is us. So no one here, if you got soft skin, click out till we get to your subject, right? We talking and we brothers. And at the end of the day, we gonna build. So we're gonna have this discussion. And there's a lot of things because we make excuse for.
They really must be getting me now. What they say now?
Like some of these guys.
Oh, I can't see the comment. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, brother. Whoever that is, I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry.
Sometimes you got different. We got so many daggone groups in Islam. Everybody Sheikh is the new Mujaddid and Sheikh.
Hey, home, boy. Fire home. We with you, but come on, man. Right now, it's
right. You got the ex-Ansars quoting, Nation Brothers quoting, Salafis quoting, quoting,
and all y'all gotta realize it's a good book. For you students of history, there's an excellent book. And Imam, I know you say we're moving on, but for you readers, there's a great book. I believe the author is Mikhail Sahir out of Indianapolis. Great book. It's called The Man Behind the Men. Go look it up. The Man Behind the Men, because we'll in a minute. I'm Malcolm X, and I'm with the Malcolm X movement. Blah blah blah. You crazy person! Who made Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and blah 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 blah? And who made Muhammad Ali and any other one that you want to? So go find that book, The Man Behind the Men, and we can move beyond that. But and at the end of the day, they say that, what is it? Hasad, Imam, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Hasad or Haqqad? That you're not really mad with the person who received the blessing. You're upset with the one who gave the blessing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala initiated and willed for that man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be that leader who did what he did. So come on now, check your heart. Amradul Qulub. And see, are you really upset with him, or is your issue with him, or is your issue with Allah? Give you a little tezkiyah in there too, and I know they don't. That'll make some other ones mad.
You're gonna get in trouble for that too.
That'll make some other ones mad that we talking that Sufi talk.
Right. So here, all right, let's move on. We talking, brothers and sisters. We're dialoguing. We're not running from nothing. I told him before he came on this platform, when you come on the Black Imams Roundtable, all things is available. We're not running from no rap.
And I'm gonna still come drink some tea with you when we get to Medina, because Hajj pros, we gonna be in Medina, we gonna be in Mecca, and we gonna give each other pounds as the African Americans that's over there. So it's all good. But come on now, we gotta respect each other's situation.
Next stage, because all right, we talked about some of those things. So we talked about love for one another. That's one thing that we need to bring back from those movements. One brother mentioned, and he
My children are dancing in the background to make me laugh. That's why I'm a little distracted. I'm sorry.
I just got a curious question because we got real names. Imam Amin Muhammad, Imam of Masjid Muhammad, Imam Sulaimaan Hamed, Imam of Masjid of Al-Islam. And then I got this one guy over here. What's your real name, brother? Right? Because I know it ain't that thing you got there. And it ain't that lookup you got there. So what's your real name?
See there, and Imam.
Here's behind the joint.
Interestingly enough, I just gave y'all on that other call. I was born Muslim. When they asked me in Saudi Arabia, when did you? أنا ولدت في الإسلام في بطن أمي. أنا علمت عن الإسلام. I learned about Islam in the womb of my mother. I'm not a convert. I'm not a revert. My name is Sulaiman. They're the government now. Unfortunately, they're gonna get my whole name. My name is Sulaiman Warathuddin Ibrahim Abdul Hamid. That's on my birth certificate, like from San Francisco. That's where I was born. Get a government a little more information. That's my real name. And I don't know why he's asking that, but we ain't. Everybody's not no.
No, I was asking his real name. He got this lookup. He got this title. He got under himself. And you know something? He said,
"What is it?
I'm enjoying it. Move on, brothers and sisters. But I gotta have a little fun because I like when people want to be big Islamic scholars and hiding. So you said it doesn't matter. I'm speaking the truth. In Islam, if we don't know who you are, you can't take knowledge from someone who is unknown.
Come on now. Come on now.
Law, that knowledge from an individual who is unknown, that is a weak chain. When your narrators are not known, you cannot relate from them. That's Al-Sunnah, Sheikh.
Yeah.
So if you continue to hide, that means what you say doesn't have any weight. Even if it's true, we can't use it. Because
so our names ain't even really, ma'am. Is that what you want to say?
I'm just having fun.
Oh man, this is great. This is great. Atlantic City, we love you. Yeah, we got real names, y'all. We ain't no.
We understand us, but we're gonna have some fun, right? While we learn. Next question. Move on. All right, back to serious time, brothers. To where we're at now with knowledge and scholarship. So we came through Nation, through Ansars, through all these different groups we came through, More Science Temple, 5%ers, you know, we got an array of backgrounds, how we got to where we at now.
Yes.
Now, where are you at in your understanding of Islam, which brings us to where we at now, talking about the sacred knowledge in our communities. How did you get to your two things? What is your understanding of traditional or sacred knowledge now? And how did you get from those stages where your parents is at, what you came through in the beginning of your studies, to where you are now as the Imam of Masjid of Al-Islam?
Yes, absolutely. What did our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He said, "Talib al-ilm farida ala kulli mukallif al-Muslim." That the seeking of knowledge is a responsibility upon every sensible or every conscious Muslim, right? Foundational. And what was that dua that we find of the unique dua, that things that were specifically asked for? Any Imam correct me. I believe that dua was attributed to Ali, that he made that dua, Allahumma, what did he say? Give me knowledge, give me knowledge, right? That's that dua.
In the Quran you talking about?
Yes, in the Quran.
وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا.
قُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا, right? That dua that we have, the Asbab al-Nuzul I'm giving, that what was directly asked for was for ilm, right? Was for knowledge. So if we look of the importance of knowledge in Quran, that this is what we find. Quran, this dua of asking for knowledge, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that it's a responsibility about every Muslim. Now, to go back historically and to, you know, again, to how I got here today, I'm on my 5th passport. Two of them were used in Sham, 2 of them were used in Syria, other ones were used in other places, the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia and Egypt in particular. How did I get to that point? As a child, you know, and I've shared this with somebody recently, and this was our parents. This was our parents. And again, what I feel about traditional knowledge, that loaded term, traditional knowledge, and those Yakubs on my side who would try and criticize me of saying that you over there studying with them Arabs and you over there, you know what I mean, learning that Arab knowledge, and you ain't on the Imam's program and all that. I got something for you too. My mother, when I was 13, 14, 15, my mother moved to, both of my parents are graduate, they have graduate degrees. So my parents' education was a big thing in my home. For me, just Sulaimaan, I'm telling you about me. And I'm talking to my people from the association. You know what I'm talking about. So for y'all, when y'all want to throw y'all rocks, you just know a little something about your brother. Education was of the highest priorities in my house. My mother's graduate education was actually in developing education. That was her specialty, right? So my father was leadership, was I'm gonna go into all that because the police listening, but that was part of what was my foundation, right? But she went to enroll me in this Hafiz school in San Jose. I'm almost sure San Jose, the Bay Area. People know what San Jose is. And it was all Pakistani. And she saw my disappointment. But I'm telling you, the trajectory, the path that they had Sulaimaan on was to be in advanced religious studies. She saw that I didn't want to be there with these Pakistanis. Pakistani, you all good, more power to the people. You know what I'm saying? But come on now, I don't want to be with these Pakistanis. And she saw that. And so she didn't put me in that Hafiz school. In hindsight, I wish that perhaps I would have went and I could have been a little bit more advanced in my studies. But then they sent me to Atlanta, and I went to Muhammad schools here in Atlanta, and I was around more of my people. But that was the path that they had me on. Fast forward a little bit, I used to rap. I was pretty good. I sold some CDs.
Wait a minute. Hold up. You got bars?
Fast forward past my rapping career.
No, wait. Imam, you got bars?
And my name was King Sulaimaan. That was my rap name, right?
All right, the next roundtable going to be a battle with Imam Sulaimaan and Imam Fahim Lee, and see who got the best bars.
Jersey, that's it. That's what's
up. Go ahead.
Imam Fahim, respect. And selling handmade incense in Berkeley and all of that stuff. An opportunity came about from my teacher, Imam Muhammad, for students to go study in Damascus, Syria. My mother had passed at that time. Allah have mercy on her. My mother was deceased. And I mentioned the opportunity to my father, who is raising me. I was 18 or maybe 17, 19 perhaps. And he encouraged me to do it. Now, I'm mentioning this, that's how I wound up in Syria. Where did that opportunity come from? And people got to know this history when you go again talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wasn't honorable. Crazy people. 1958. Now, even before this, one of the most famous quotes of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, let's go with that, because it's in that case. Ahmed Kuftaro, who was the Mufti of Syria at that time, so everybody stay with me. I'm not just rambling, because the Imam just asked me, what is my perception of traditional knowledge and how I got to where I am today? Sheikh Kuftaro, Ahmed Kuftaro, rahimahullah, who was the Grand Mufti of Syria, his whole thing in that college was dawah, giving dawah, inviting people to Islam. He had multiple trips and coming back and forth to America. Within that time, 58, y'all, 58, he hears about this group of Muslims in America, the Nation of Islam. And and where did we get this story from? We heard this firsthand from Sheikh Ahmed Kuftaro and Ustad Farouk Akbik. May Allah have mercy on him. He's still alive. And Ustad Ibrahim Matar, who were the two primary translators of Sheikh Kuftaro. Farouk Ekbik was the one who was traveling with Sheikh Uftaro. He said, Sheikh Uftaro said, and I'll speed it up. He said to his people, I want to meet these Muslims in America. He was coming to America to get a back surgery. And they kind of like, oh, interesting. You want to meet these Muslims in America? You talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to meet these Muslims in America. And these people kind of slow walked it. Okay, yeah, white supremacy, right? You don't really want to, you know what I'm saying? And so when it came time for the trip, 58, he told the people, what's up with this meeting? I want to go meet the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they say, they ain't real Muslims. Listen, they ain't real Muslims. You don't want to meet with them. And Sheikh Uftaro said, hey, man, and this is me, I'm a da'i. If they ain't real Muslims, it's my obligation to go give them dawah and to invite them to Islam. This is firsthand knowledge. And so he forced his people. He said when they landed in Chicago, they went straight to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's house in Chicago. And we knew the story was real because he said, when the translator, he said, and we remember the brothers, they were very big and very mean looking, talking about the FOI, right? Who was on post at the Sheikh's house. Excuse me, at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's house. He said they met for hours. And he said, and this is a student of Sheikh Uftaro. He said, and the Sheikh taught him some things, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught him some things. This is his own words. And he said, in that meeting, 50, he said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was offered scholarships by Sheikh Uftaro to come study in Syria in the 50s. So we're talking about the history of our community. That's not to mention those teachers that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had teaching in the University of Islam, and his view of how important education was, that he called our elementary and our high schools a university. So come on, y'all. This is my pedagogy. So you gotta respect it now. He called our high school and our university and our elementary school university to let people know the importance of information. In that meeting, he said, Sheikh Uftaro offered the Honorable Elijah Muhammad University, send your people to come study in Syria. He said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad responded, and Imam affirmed this. Imam Muhammad reaffirmed this as well, and I'll tell you more about that. Honorable Elijah Muhammad responded, my people are not ready, but they will be. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad responded to him, my people are not ready, but they will be. This is in the 50s. Now, shift to another quote of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who said, I didn't come to teach you Islam. I came to clean you up. So come on now, let's deal with the reality. He said of himself, I didn't come to teach you Islam. I came to clean you up, and the one after me will teach you Islam. Who was the one after him? It was his son, Imam Muhammad, who was put out, and I'm sorry, Imam, for going on, but this is part of it.
No, go, Imam.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Hey, I know you in Jersey. Them crazy people be at your door in the morning. The Imam was.
I got security. I got my own FOI.
Imam Muhammad, who was put out of the Nation of Islam on multiple occasions because he had Aqidah for you, Aqidah specialist, because Imam Muhammad rahimahullah had Aqidah, and he was put out of his father's Nation of Islam because he knew what Aqidah was. And so he said, I remember that meeting. I remember that meeting between Sheikh Ahmed Uftaro and his father. Now listen, y'all don't know this. I shared a picture with the Imams the other day. Imam Muhammad said, I remember that meeting, and then later in life, when he was, he's seeing the Mufti of Syria, he reestablished that relationship. I said a lot of people don't know. We have the pictures of him with Sheikh Ibn Baz in Saudi when Imam Muhammad was of the presidents of Muslim World League. Did you know that Imam Muhammad, not you, Imam, did you know that Imam Muhammad was of the president of Muslim World League? Do you know what Muslim World League is? When you talking about something, he was of the presidents of that. And we have the pictures of him with Sheikh Ibn Baz, Sheikh bin Baz, your man, our man, rahimahullah. And so we know that they had that exchange. We know, and we have the pictures of him when he was on that first Hajj. And when Maulana Maududi, rahimahullah, our Sheikh, when Maulana Maududi heard that Warithuddin Muhammad was in the tent next door, he said, go get Imam Warithuddin. And he came into the tent of Sheikh Maududi, and he said, please give khutbatul arafah, and please address my students. That's Maududi. Y'all got me riled up now. And this is Ibn Baz.
Hey, you riled up. You just got 2 strikes. They're going to be at your door. You better get your security.
Hey, I live in Georgia, man. If you know what that means, you know what that means. But we have the documented evidence of him with Maududi. We have the evidence of him with Sheikh Ibn Baz. So he wasn't just not knowing what in the world was going on in the world and traditional Islamic knowledge for these crazy people. He knew that we wasn't going to allow his community to be a slave. So he said, when those scholarships came from Qura, of which some of our more prominent leaders took those scholarships that were offered to Imam Warithuddin in our community, by the way, and some of those people, so go look at their resumes and who did that Qura thing in the early days, that was given to us. And what did he say? He said that Sheikh Toro was of the only people that he felt comfortable sending his students to. That was of the only scholars in Sham, and he knew the importance of Sham, Allahumma barik lana fi Shamina, and the blessings when you want to learn Arabic and all that, you go to Syria and you go to Sham. The Imam knew that, and so he remembered that relationship with his father and that offer, and he said, in listening to Sheikh Toro, and they had some very similar views with interfaith and tafsir and things like that, that this was of the only places that he felt comfortable sending his students to. And so that opportunity became available for his community. And for about 5 years, over about maybe 40, 45, maybe a little more, maybe I'm exaggerating the number, males and females had the opportunity to go study at Jami Abu Nur in Damascus, Syria. He said this was the only, and I'm gonna tell you, and we came to learn why this was of the only places that he felt comfortable with. Let alone, if you don't know the history, where did Bilal go after he left radiallahu anhu? Where did he die? Where did he pass? Where did he go after Medina? Where did he go? He went to Syria. And we used to be Bilalians, right? So of the just that psychology that I'm gonna send you to the place that he went, right? I'm gonna send you to the place that he went. But also Sheikh Toro of his main, and for you people, because they beat up on me, you got that old, they call me a Syrian, and you got that old Arab knowledge. Sheikh Toro said, you go be Abu Nur in your country. You are no good to us here in Syria. You don't do us no good sitting up under us. Go back and teach your people. And so the Imam knew his interest wasn't to make us slaves of Syrians, and wasn't to give us a Syrian mind and an Arab mind and all of that. It was for us to have this knowledge and to come back and teach our own people. One last part, Imam. And this was of the greatest, the great criticisms that our Imam received over the years. Well, how he's legitimate, who's his sheikh, and who taught him, and all of that. I put forth to you, and now let's see how many comments come up in the section now. I put forth to you that now you don't know, well, maybe you know, his brother Akbar graduated from Azhar. You do know that. You also should know that he had that opportunity, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him he couldn't go, told the Imam he couldn't go, and Imam went to jail for standing up, for not joining the military, but that same opportunity was there. But again, I tell you the relationships that he had. But of those great criticisms, who's his sheikh, who he studied with, I put forward to you the awliya, and go look that word up. I ain't even going to translate it. The awliya have some benefits from Allah that you and I don't have. And he had some of those benefits, but that does not take away from his knowledge and his actual studies. So all of that said, these scholarships were made available. That's where I met my wife and got married. I got married in Syria, alhamdulillah. And those 5 years,
Shem put a lot of barakah on you, huh? Shem gave you knowledge, al-sunnah, al-aqidah al-sahihah, wa zawjatu salihah.
I mean,
Alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah. But those years that the Imam in his wisdom, knowing that we would need and require for the future independent minds, independent free thinkers who understood the obligation of seeking knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim, and the spiritual development and qualities of Syria, but knew the obligation of coming back and teaching our own. So alhamdulillah, you know, that's how we got that particular. And I like to tell people, and this is the last thing, I learned Arabic in Claire Muhammad School. I learned Arabic from Sheikh Abdul Rauf Nasir from Oakland, California, who studied in Al Qura and who studied in Sudan. That's who I learned Arabic from, in Claire Muhammad School. I didn't learn Arabic in Syria. I already knew Arabic when I went to Syria. I'm only saying that to say my people taught me. And I've learned how to, you know, conversate and all of that in Syria, alhamdulillah. But our teachers and our imam instilled in us the obligation of learning knowledge. And I say that was going to be the last thing, but you know, it's a joke, imam. I don't know if you got this one in Atlantic City. They say that imams get at least 3 in conclusions. And that was my first 2. So in conclusion, on this particular subject, that was a joke.
No, in Jersey, they all know that, because every morning I go, lastly, then I go for about 20 more minutes. And just after this point, lastly, I go another 20 minutes.
Right. So that's it. That same thing. That same thing. You know, and this is the challenge, because it's hard for my community in particular, crazy people who think that you just gonna up and in them. You're not Imam Muhammad. So and I'm saying you don't have the blessing that Allah gave him to have the greatest mass conversion of Muslims in this country. That's his credit. Imam Muhammad has that credit. Over 100,000 people he gave shahada to at one sitting. That's a wali of Allah. You're not him. So you can't just think that you're going to be able to teach Islam and not do no studies. So our imam, just like you wouldn't go try and teach medicine, you wouldn't go try and teach no other subject. But when it comes to Deen al-Islam, you just gonna philosophize and announce yourself as the Mahdi and the Imam of Ai-Imma, and you ain't studied one book with no teachers. Kick rocks. That ain't gonna work. So you have to qualify yourself. And our Imam knew that. And his vision was to send us to an institution, but understanding and trusting that we had love of self and knowledge of self, and we'd come back and teach our people. So that was a long circle, but you know what they say in the comments about that.
Yes, sir, black man. Talk to him, black man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. I said,
alhamdulillah. We gotta let our people know, and our people have to. We can't be foolish into thinking. Who was it? Was it Malcolm X who said that education is the great equalizer? If we are going to be the leaders of Islam in America, and you want to have, because some of y'all still waiting for somebody to call you a real Muslim and to recognize you and all that, we don't care nothing about that. Well, you have the same credentials that they have, and you have the same ijazat that they have, and you have the same connections with the ulama that they have, and that equalizes you, and you don't got to be in there shucking and jiving with your head down and low self-esteem, because you know you ain't never studied tajweed, and you know you ain't never studied no books that these people have, but you want to put yourself up. And so a lot of that stuff, it's a defense mechanism, because these people know that they don't know nothing. I'm talking about our people. So criticize and talk about anybody who does know it. I'm doing this for you, man. I ain't doing this for myself. So maybe I hope that answered the question.
Partially, right? It was great. You got to go for another 20 minutes to get my answer, right? So, but
Sully.
so from Syria, let's get more of the structured
Sultan
Islamic learning that you had here, then you went to Syria. So what was the advancement in your learning that you're applying now in your community from your studies in Syria?
Absolutely. And that's a very good question. You know, one of the unique things for those of us students of Imam Muhammad, alhamdulillah, and I say this after having the blessing of studying in an Islamic university, studying text, his ability, and everybody, listen, your teacher might not be Imam Muhammad. That's my teacher. So don't be, get off your trip. I'm not saying this to you, Imam, but anybody that's having a problem with what I'm saying.
But everybody's good. We warmed everybody up. Everybody,
okay, alhamdulillah.
From this conversation, everybody that's in there is starting to realize they black again. Thanks.
There we go. His ability to communicate these high concepts of Islamic knowledge in English, to communicate, and I'm saying, after studying these books, I say, wow, that was that. The Imam just explained that all in English, but I know, because I have read these texts now, that these are these concepts that he's given to his people in the language they understand, right? So what I have learned is the ability to be able to translate and to communicate these concepts of usul and other things to our people, and so you don't send them on no trip somewhere, right? And have somebody tripped out, because they learned one thing today, and now I'm, Maulana somebody, and you just took one class, and so that's one thing. The ability to communicate these concepts in the language of our people, and to have them understand that I can study from these other scholars. I can study from these schools, and I'm using that language, that loaded language on purpose, these schools of thought, and I can study, but that don't take away from my identity. That doesn't take away from the fact that I am me, and I come from where I come from. But this is a part of the obligation of so I'm saying that as a teacher, of ourself, of our identity as a teacher. Alhamdulillah, I've learned that. And I've also learned that we have to have the ability to be able to, this is connected to what I just said, to be able to learn from these other sources, not be afraid to do it. And again, understand the obligation of serving your own people. Maybe that was the same thing twice, but that's of the big things that I've learned.
Right. So here, one of the things I'm going to open up quickly. If anyone have some questions, try to give us questions that we don't got to spend a long time unnecessarily arguing about. We know some stuff. Obviously, the Imam has great love for those who guided him to where he's at and facilitate that route. So you're wasting your time trying to argue with that point. But if there's some serious questions that, really that's something you don't know already, or you wanted to ask, please feel free to put it in so I can ask him, because he can't see the questions, and I will share it with him. But one of the things that I know, because as my studies in Sham areas and with my teachers in Sham, right, is that we learned in a way of Islam that is different, totally different from what most of our people experienced in America. So for instance, in Sham, in those Sham areas, that we learned Ash'ari Aqidah.
Yes.
For us, me and you, Shafi'i, we learned Tasawwuf. Where a lot of our people, they went to like the Saudi route, and they learned the direct opposite of all of what we learned in Sham. And then we have those people here in our communities who they didn't get to go anywhere, so they learned with what they had, and then internet, books, all that. How do you join between all these various positions in your community? And I'll talk about mine and how I did it. How do you merge all this without ripping the community apart, keeping everything together, and still educating people from what you learned and experienced from your time in Syria
Absolutely.
and learning these methodologies.
So, you know, you made me think about something else. And we're talking as teachers now. You know, one of the classes that we had in third year in Abu Nur was Mirath, was inheritance law, right? And if Imam Hamed was here, he could attest to this. I would get in trouble in class because I would tell my teachers, this is not necessarily what my people need.
Mm.
So I excelled in fifth class just personally, and I'll just give you that one, because I know what's going on in Oakland and these fake marriages, and these fake divorces, and people need to know the law of Sharia. They ain't got no money to inherit. They ain't got no nuts up to this many, you know what I mean, this many breakups and this many that. And so, and some of the students would get irritated with me because I would have to, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling my teachers, listen, I know what our people need. So I'm gonna need a little more of this, and you know what I mean, not necessarily that. I passed, we still passed, you know what I mean? But alhamdulillah. So I'm giving that example to say, and this is for you future students and you people who are going into the Jamiat and you're going into these programs in this year, you have to go in with the mind that I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission of going to gather information. Imam Amin, you know this about me, and this brother might be listening. Alhamdulillah, I'm more than halfway through with a master's degree, right? And I'm in the class with one of the brothers, and I see him, he's from my community, and he getting riled up and ready to attack the teacher. And I told him, man, we're here for degrees. We're not here necessarily for these people to give us our life.
Something happened to your mic. Something happened to your mic. Your mic went funny.
How about now?
Okay, I don't know what happened. Your voice changed.
That's the government. But you know, I told the brother, we're not here for these people to give us no mind. We're just here to get a degree, right? And so we have to help our community members understand that when we go into these institutions and we're going for tools. We're going to tools so that we can better serve you and better serve our people. Now, with that being said, you say, well, how do I give this information to our people and it not break up the community? Now you got us following the madhab, you got us following the madhab and the jackrabbit and all this stuff, right? You know, we like to mess up the names of some stuff, right? I'm reminded of a saying that's attributed to Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, who said, when you find an authentic hadith, that's my madhab, right? When you find a tradition that's authentic and that's from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's my madhab. So we have to help our students and help our community members understand when we're going to these sources, these foundational and these fundamental sources, we ain't going to this stuff because we want to be something else. We're going to this stuff because we're trying to get closer to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're going to this stuff to get closer to the mountain man. And if these are the experts who codify, like Imam Shafi'i is, and who systematize and systemize all of these systems, why wouldn't I go to this and get the system that I need so that we can live this religion in a most fuller way? So what I did, and you know the haters gonna hate, as the saying says, but I try and remind them, Imam sent me to Syria. I didn't go to Syria on my own. Imam Muhammad sent me to Damascus. He said go study with his friend, Sheikh Ahmed Kutar. So again, you ain't mad at me, you mad at Imam. You can't be mad at me. And also for those people who went to, you know, like the Saudi route and the what is it? Bidayat al-Mushtahid or Nihayat, you know, who went that route with fiqh, you know what I'm saying? Now all that's useless if you can't translate that in Atlantic City. All that's useless if you can't translate that in East Atlanta. It's useless if you can't translate that in Philly, in North Philly, or wherever you at. You're useless. You're wasting your time. They're going to kick you out of the group any day now because you ain't on the minhaj and you ain't on the haq. And you have to realize, unless you're able to give this medicine to your people, you're a waste of time. You, as a human being, you just wasted 7 years of your life, 10 years of your, what you get all this information for if you can't translate it into being, for the people. So how did I do it and how do I do it? Alhamdulillah, because I have the support of our elders, like Sheikh Ibrahim Pasha, who has passed. I have the support of Imam Sulaimaan Hamed, who's still an imam and active in our community, and the other founders of the Atlanta Masjid community. I'm in Atlanta and in Oakland. I have the support of Fahim Shuaib and others, because as I told them students that was there, I knew myself before I went to Syria. I had knowledge of self before I went. I didn't go to Syria to find no identity, and the people who came back tripping because they didn't know themselves before they went. And so reminding and showing our people the history from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that this was their goal, to have us having these tools of Imam Muhammad, and then being real. You know what I'm saying? If you really are fake and you are, your mind is somebody else's mind, people gonna be able to tell that. But understanding that all of this is a tool for the purpose of serving our people, otherwise it's useless. All these old fancy books behind me is just a nice backdrop, right? It's just a nice backdrop. If I can't use this stuff and translate it into actually being something for the people, the medicine for the people. So, alhamdulillah, that's how we do it.
All right, I'm gonna shoot you because just for sake of time, I'll come back to mine. Let me try to get some of these questions so brothers don't feel like I ignored them. All right, I told you we got all the.
Come on with it, brother. I ain't gonna be mean no more. I ain't gonna be mean.
I told you, Will. Hey, everything's on the table. I want to start. I want us to be real with each other. That's why Imam Luqman, and every now and then he throw a couple spicy words out there. Alhamdulillah, we gotta be real. We love
Imam Luqman, and we give him the original salute. Yes, sir.
So one of the questions is, why do many of us have a problem with the NOI when many of them done for us as Black people what many of our Sunnis in the early days didn't? That's a question.
I'm looking at the name to see if I know his name so he won't beat me up.
He's a relative of Luqman, so I think he's his nephew or.
And here's the thing about it, and again, let me remind you, I was born in 80. I was born after the transition. I was never in the Nation of Islam. My parents were in the Nation of Islam, but I was never in the Nation of Islam. But I would be a fool to disrespect and discredit the foundation of what taught my parents, Allah and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's number one. But you said why? Because of white supremacy, man. Let's not, beat around the bush. Because the Black man can't know nothing. The Black man can't build an organization on his own. The Black man can't lead the biggest organization. The Black man can't start businesses. The Black man can't have jets and airplanes and all of that stuff unless you're a crook and a criminal and all of that. That's why. It's because of that. It's because people don't value their own self. And you have been taught, not you, Brother Kareem, but we have been taught that anything Black that's of substance, you have to devalue it. You gotta bring it down. And then you have the excuse of some aqidah and all of that. So now you can spice it up with that a little bit. That ain't even got nothing to do with it. You Negroes, excuse me, y'all didn't know nothing about aqidah. You wouldn't know nothing about aqidah. You wouldn't know Allah. You would not know Allah. And then, again, there's some exceptions with those other Sunni communities. Brother, our good brother Rasul Miller just finished his PhD. He finished his PhD a little while ago. Did some good history about Sunnis in America and all of that. So we have to recognize those other communities. But who was, maybe besides the Ansar and the Dar, right? Who were those who gave this information were Black people. But it were these leaders, was the Honorable Elijah. And so that's just easy. But at the root and the end of it, it's hate. It's just because you don't love yourself, man. And I'm dealing with, when I'm dealing with this, and this is just me, and that's a whole nother discussion. I am talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam. I am making a distinction. I'm making a distinction. You can't discredit that. And he told you, I didn't come to teach you Islam. I came to clean you up, and the one after me would come do that. And then they discredit the Imam because he didn't tell you his sheikh was sheikh so-and-so and such and such. So it's the same thing. It's because they black, man. That's what it is.
I want to share something with you, right? Because, and for real, for me, is, you know, I look at my little son, Hafidhullah, may Allah make him among the awliya, and
Ameen.
The sheikh of the shuyukh, inshallah.
Ameen.
We got another shot at it. That's how I look at him, right? And, you know, I listen to people, all of us, we all in the same position that the nation, black were during the time of the nation, during the time of More Science Temple, and all these Ansars, all these different movements. It's just more advanced. It's the same thing. When we start having discussions, right, and we start really discussing Islam and the Sunnah and Usul al-Fiqh and Usul al-Hadith and Jarh wa Ta'dil and Aqidah and Sirah and on and all of al-Ulum al-Islamiyya, you start to discover that, wait a minute, the same game been played on us all the damn time.
Come on, man. 475 years.
I got a phone call, and I got this one person over there, and I know who he is. I don't know who he is, but I know his mushrab. I know where he get his stuff from. And if we had that discussion, he'd been deceived too. You know what I mean? He's quoting, and, you know, just, we so stupid, we don't even know the terms that we use give us away. Sometimes that's how hooked we've been. Bro, I know who you are. Just the words you use. Only that coat used those words.
Right.
I'm like, but you don't got no experience, so you don't know that.
Right.
And for us, this is for my side, and that's why I'm doing these things. I want to hope that we get to a level where we as a people really know Islam, ain't guessing, and can pass that on for the next 100 or 1,000 years. And to do that, we got to have a little humbleness, right? That's going to take time. And we got to have these discussions, because what I've known, and I'm saying this in the harshest way, it may hurt, I've never seen nobody come here from anywhere else and give a crap about us.
Come on now.
That's right.
Put it in the comments. Yes, sir.
He said something. He said, we're going to continue to ask everybody to do stuff for us till we realize nobody going to do nothing for us, and then we're going to come around and realize that we got to do for ourselves.
That's right.
He said that over 55 years ago. Here we are today. If we have a real discussion, no ego, just a real discussion with all the stuff we acquired over the world, around the world, over the last 20, 30 years, we're going to discover that we all have a portion of being hoodwinked. Every single one of us.
That's right. Absolutely.
Someone who is, I'm on the Sunnah, Joker, you don't even know the Sunnah.
Right.
You have no clue about the Sunnah. You haven't studied. You still partially mix with this, mix with that, mix with that. You don't know what you're doing either.
Right.
And I believe collectively, we're going to pull ourselves up if we do that collective work. And this is part of it. So I want you to follow why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. And I may not agree with everything somebody say. They might not agree. But this is the process. This is how we're going to get it out.
Absolutely.
And our children will be much more well-equipped than we were, just like we're developing more than our fathers were. But guess what? When we talk about this history, you're talking about 1958, that there was connections with scholars. You talk about people coming. Ansars had connections in Sudan, sent
SubhanAllah.
people over and studied in Morocco. One of the brother asked me, do I know Dr. York, Imam Isa, whatever name you want to call him, Melchizedek, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
They asked me, do I know his son? Yadullahi, Yaqub were my roommates in the Ansar. We were kids in the same building.
SubhanAllah.
Those kids, when they was 13, 14 years old, 15, 16, he sent them to Morocco to study. They used to give in the 80s, 85, 86, 87. They was giving Jumu'ah in Arabic language with no papers.
SubhanAllah.
The kids. So this was real stuff.
And we can't, and so those people who would try and discredit that whole movement, you can't do that. That you just can't. It's not possible. SubhanAllah.
But I'm saying, so there, what we learned from you, and I this is what I learned, is that Allah been sending us stuff, and everything happened in the time He wants it to happen.
That's it. That's it.
And that's what we learning, and that's why history is important.
Yes.
When we study the Sirah, a lot of the stuff we see post Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after his death, a lot of that stuff had its root in Jahiliyyah before Revelation.
Straight up.
If you don't understand that, you won't understand why a lot of them was fighting and beefing.
SubhanAllah.
You won't understand how things came back up. That's why we study the history, the lineage of the Arabs, the tribes, all that stuff still to this day plays a factor. But they tell us what they want us. Give you some ibadat, give you a couple pamphlets, and you Shaykh al-Islam. It's not real. But we gotta change that narrative. I'm on my soapbox. But
and don't say nothing about your history or we throw you out. Come on, man. Ain't nobody going for that.
Let me go back to this question. How many brothers under the leadership of Imam Muhammad went to Syria?
So it was males and females. It wasn't just men. It was males and females. Over a period of 5 years, it was just a little bit over 40. Just a little bit over 40 students.
Okay, over 40. How many actually finished the program?
Just a little bit under 10.
Out of 40, 10.
Out of 40, 10. And you know, that was in the late 90s, you know what I'm saying? And culture shock. First time people's out of the country, you know what I mean? If you've never lived in another country, and Syrians physically are white people. You ever seen Syrians?
Yeah, I know Syrians.
Right. So the culture shock of going into that culture, and, you know, so I mean, in the sense of students being able to finish the program, and then the Gulf War, the war broke out while we were there, and so some people had to return home based on that the war broke out, and they literally flying over the university. We were seeing the jets fly over and all of that. So there were a lot of factors in that, alhamdulillah. But there is a nice contingency, a nice group of students that are still very active in dawah, still very active in teaching and leading communities throughout the country from that particular group.
Among the males, because they take positions of imams, how many of those are now imams active in the communities? And where communities are they at?
So I'm not gonna say their names because, you know, they might not want me to say their names. We got Baltimore, we got DC, we have multiple in the Baltimore DC area. We have Atlanta, multiple of those who are in Atlanta. We have Illinois. We have few of the major states who are actually imams and teachers at masjids. But these sisters too, these sisters, you know, are doing great work in these places as well. I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting any of those states. I didn't have that list ready, but most of the major big cities, and those students who were there are working and are active in some capacity in their community. You know, they might not be imams, but they're teachers, or they're supporting the community in some form with some form of knowledge.
One question, I don't know if we want to go too deep into that, but I just, because it's there, I want to put it, that they said, what I don't understand, so it's a form of a question, is we want to debate Wahhabiyya and other deviants, but mainly Wahhabiyya, but why don't we have formal debate with the NOI scholarship? I mean, I guess they mean Farrakhan people, because they are producing academics and traditional students of Islam, and see where the cards may fall. If you want to answer that, you know, or
I
you
don't.
pass.
I don't, and you know what I mean? I have to be very respectful, because I respect Minister Louis Farrakhan and his work as a leader today. I respect him as a black leader. We ain't getting into that, you know what I mean? All them small, minute details. I respect him as a leader. But you know, I was having a conversation with another one of my mentors the other day about another guy who's professed himself to be a leader of a group. So separate this from Minister Farrakhan. Separate this from Minister Farrakhan. And he said, he said, crazy people need a leader too. So you know what I'm saying? He might not be your leader, but them people who are in that particular condition, they need their leader. And you know, we have to stop being so pretentious a lot of times. You know, we want to focus on one particular concern, and again, that's that fake standard that we only hold ourselves to. That's that fake standard that we only hold ourselves to. But you'll totally ignore everything else of the good and you know that these particular people, whoever that particular person is producing. But that's a waste of time. We're not here debating or legitimizing Minister Louis Farrakhan and his Nation of Islam. We ain't doing that. That's a waste of time. We're not in the Nation of Islam. We're Ahlul Sunnah with Jama'ah. So I mean, you know, you got to have that conversation when we have Dr. Wesley on. You know what I'm saying? I know that's who you're talking about. But you know, we got to have that conversation when you bring him on. But that ain't us. We're not here as proponents of Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're not in that group. I'm a student of Imam Muhammad, who was born a Sunni Muslim upon Ahlul Sunnah wa Jama'ah, as he was. So you got to ask that to somebody else. And I'm not here to tear them down and to be ripping, you know what I mean, and the refutation culture. Get off the internet. Go get, you know what I mean? Go start a business and do something better than sitting up writing some refutations. That ain't what it is.
Let's try you, man. Talk back. Yes, sir, brother. Submit now what I thought now. I'm
saying all that stuff be a waste of time.
Here's the point. If we don't have these discussions and we sit back, this is what our people's doing. So now we get to see this is what leadership is doing. This was on the mind of leadership. This is what we're trying to do. But we're dialoguing. You know what I mean? Alhamdulillah. One last question we got. Imam, we need you to explain your understanding of the difference between teachers and leaders. We often get confused by our being impressed by someone who can recite or speak Arabic, or who may have memorized things we know nothing about.
Oh man, can I ask who asked that question? Because I think they know me.
That's Sayyiduna Sheikh Isa Bey from Cuba. It's Cuba Islamic School and Islamic Center.
Man. I sound like
a Islamic Center.
Brother Isa.
Don't beat me up.
That's a real question. That's a real question. And that's a question that as community members, there is absolutely a difference between a teacher and a leader. And we have been, now, the unique thing is, we come from, our history is where the teacher and the leader are most often found in the same person, right? Imam Muhammad, Imam Isa, Noble Drew Ali, and these others. The teacher and leader is the same person, but it ain't the same thing. And I like to put forth to a lot of people That was a very specific time in history that Allah had to where he made those type of leaders, because that's what our people and that's what the world needs. But it ain't the same thing, man. You don't know, half these people don't even know how to lead their own wife. They don't even know how to lead their own family. But they think that they're going to be qualified to be leading a Jamaat and leading a community and all that. Kick rocks. Again, no, sir. And just because you have, you know what I mean, you finished Darul Iftar and you did Sahih Sitta, that don't mean you qualified to lead Negroes in Atlantic City, or you qualified to lead anybody in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? Did they come up with a fancy Arabic name for Philadelphia? Philadelphia stand? What do they call Philadelphia, man? Whatever it's called. That, and you ain't gonna be able to do it, bro. And you can come with all of the ijazat, and you know what I mean. I was with Sayyid so and so. They gonna run you out of there because you don't know how to be a leader. And so, what it requires a lot of the time, alhamdulillah, that we have, you know, many of us, like I know our brother Esau was, we benefited from just seeing that last generation of leaders who were both. We benefited from that last generation of leaders who were teachers and leaders, one and the same. But this next generation, it is rare. It's rarely between. Either you a teacher and you an academic and go sit over there and write us some books and some papers, man. And that's what we need you to do. And when we need some adillah and some dalils, we gonna turn you on and you send us the dalils and stuff, but you ain't leading nothing because you ain't qualified and you don't know how to lead no people. So we have to understand that there absolutely is a difference, and the leaders have to understand that. I have to understand it myself. Maybe I'm not a good teacher, but I'm a better leader. Maybe I'm not, so I need to go get a teacher to be my assistant, and we lead this thing together, right? The Musa and the Harun model. Right, you know, to go into the prophetic model. Why did he ask for Allah to send Harun with him? Because Harun spoke the language of the people of the temple, right? While Harun was more eloquent in his speech, but Musa was the leader of that thing. Is that right? And so, you know, we have to understand that within ourselves. And to be honest, I might not have that skill, and we have to help our leaders, our leaders and our teachers understand. And the same thing. You know what I'm saying, brother? You might be able to rally the crowd and activists or something, but your information is a little short. You know what I mean? And we gonna need to let, you know, Sheikh so and so, you know, and the brother and Amin, you know, Sheikh Imam Amin or whatever, deal with that particular part, and you just rally the crowd and whatever. So that's a very good point that I think a lot of our communities and our people miss, and it harms the progress of many of our communities. And not recognizing there is a clear difference between those. Our past, those people were usually in one, but it ain't really the same today, in my observation, which I think in yours too, which is why you probably asked the question.
I got a beautiful question, and I like to share in this one. Being leaders, teachers, and imams is attractive to the nafs. How can we kill this desire in us and be genuine and sincere community members? Hang out with me for about a week. You will not want to be an imam. You won't want to be a teacher. You would love to be a community leader.
Straight up.
You see what a real imam got to go through in the black community.
Hey, ditto. Anybody that's trying to be in this position, that's the one with the nefs. We trying to get out of these jobs, not because we don't want to serve our people, because it's taxing on your body, it's taxing on your spirit, it's taxing on your nerves. And then you understand, you know, you all saw that Umar special, was it on NBC, and he cried. You know, they talk about the picture of Umar radiallahu anhu crying in the night, asking, "Well, am I a munafiq? Am I a hypocrite?" Were you really doing this? That's for real. It's them fake wannabes who you know, and I'm Sheikh and I'm Imam so and so. Man, you a lame. You know what I'm saying? And the fact it proves that you're lame because you trying to do this and want to be. We're in this position because Allah has put us in these positions, and we have to serve, and we know there's our need. So killing the nafs, like Imam Amin said, man, yeah, we can switch anytime. And let you get the call at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and you gotta, counsel the person whose children are dead and the person whose child has given up their identity of their sexual identity and is looking for you the guidance of how to bring them back to their original. You want that job? So that humbles you real quick to say, I don't even want to be doing this, man, because it's a challenge and it's a heavy weight on ourselves.
Hey, Imam, I want to share the brother. He put, he said, I hear that so often, nobody want to be the leader, but I don't see it stopping people or people giving it up. Wallahu a'lam, laugh out loud. Let me share a story. I had some.
Where he from, man? Where he from? He from New
Jersey.
Jersey.
I don't mean Toledo. I don't know if that's Toledo or
yeah, I mean New Jersey.
But anyway, right? I had often, and I'm quite sure you had this, you get those people who want to be the imam. And they they want to shoot you down and everything, right? So I said, fine, alhamdulillah, you want to be, oh, he's in New Jersey. I said, you want to be the imam?
I knew he was from New Jersey.
Yes, New Jersey talk. I said, you want to be the imam? He said, all right, come on, hang out with me. You're going to hang out with me, and I'm going to let you be the imam. I let him give cook bar. They screwed the cook bar up. It was invalid, right?
Oh, right. Now I'm going to put you up there, and there you bomb, right? There you bomb.
I had to go fix the Jumu'ah. And not that I didn't train them. I got somebody to train them, make sure they knew the arkan, make sure they knew everything, screwed the Jumu'ah up, got up there, was so daggone nervous, couldn't go through prayer. When they're looking at 300 people looking at them like, what the heck you talking about? Right. Wait a minute. Then after the Jumu'ah, I said, this is the amount of money we need every week. Whatever we don't get, you got to fill in.
Right. He quit on the spot, huh? Oh, man.
After the second week, he said, man, I want to be the imam. Whatever you need, imam, I'll help you.
Oh, subhanAllah. See, they don't, and to that brother's point, they you know what I'm saying? He said he don't see a lot of people quitting. And I know I can speak for Imam Amin because him and I have became friends over the years. If we quit, who you gonna have? Who gonna be your imam? That lame is he probably listening. Whoever that person is who gonna bomb every week and be able to give you a whack khutbah and you know what I'm saying and telling you some crazy stuff, and then you're gonna be in that problem. So why don't you see? Because we actually care. We actually that there's some who actually care about the people. My wife would tell you I'm supposed to be in Cairo right now. I'm supposed to be out the country, right? But I understand the obligation that's required of our people to serve and to not let our people down. Many are called, few are chosen. And once you chose for this, you gotta do it. But to that brother's point now. You also have to understand. I'm gonna use some of my fancy college words, Imam Amin. You got
no college degree, man. You got
you got to understand that when you have professional burnout and that you washed up and that you done with, you got to be honest with that too. So that's to say you don't see a lot of people turning it down and quitting. We do have to come to that point and that realization. You washed up, man. It's time for somebody else. Pass the torch. You know what I mean? And so. I think I hear what you're saying in that, brother. That, yeah, you do got them people that's just staying in there, and I'm Solomon on the throne until the termites eat my staff. You know what I'm saying? That's a problem too. But we care about you, we love you, and so we're serving in these positions because we're not about letting nobody else come take you and turn you into a zombie and take your mind and have you as somebody else's slave and on some trip. You know what I mean? Because now they're your imam and they qualified to be running our community, and our pioneers have done all this work, but we're going to turn it over to some Johnny come lately who don't know nothing, who ain't did nothing for the people. So,
Yeah, there was, because we got to do this last, I don't want to hold the people up too late, so we're going to take
Is they still on there? They still on there?
Yeah, they still loaded up. They ain't dropped, but you know, and this goes over. This is only I can see on Facebook, and it's still, so it's over 100 and something people. So they still with us. But I want to be merciful to you.
We appreciate you all the time. We appreciate you all the time, brothers and sisters.
And the quick one, I'll take one more. We have to pick up. There's a lot of questions coming.
That means you got to have me back, Imam. I mean,
oh yeah, you always just got to go on. I mean, I'm trying to boost up, but let me take one because it's a good question. What are some spiritual practice you recommend to keep yourself grounded while in the position of leadership?
SubhanAllah. That's my other brother Mujahid. So for me, let me read it. What are some spiritual practices you recommend to keep yourself grounded while in the position of leadership? Listening to your wife, taking your wife's advice. Now you say, well, how in the world is that spiritual? Now, but I'm gonna tell you, because you said in the position of leadership, and Imam Amin, you know that I operate a Hajj company, Hajj group, right? And we remember that picture when the Muslims were on Hajj and they were turned back, and the Prophet was worried whether the people going to cut their hair and get out of Ihram, right? Who gave him the advice of what to do? It was his wife. And she said, what? Cut your hair and they'll follow. So as a leader, I'm Goldie and I'm macking the most. I'm a Muslim, so some of y'all might not get the references. But you know what I'm saying? I'm big time and I'm in charge of everything. But your wife, she gonna tell you tripping. She gonna tell you that that's maybe not the best thing to do. And I gave you that picture from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's within his model of the Sunnah of listening to her, having women advisors. Let me put it like that. Having women who you trust who will give you good advice. That's number one. And Imam Amin, please interject this time. The second one is not being full of yourself. Humility. Not being full of yourself and recognizing your flaws. Recognizing your faults. What I think it was a dua, and please forgive me if I'm misquoting the particular Sahaba, but I think it was Umar as well, who said that, and I'm totally messing it up, but you all get the point, that, let me be true in how the people see me. You know what I'm saying? The people see you the big leader, but man, behind the scene, you might be crazy as a Betsy bug, as somebody say. You know what I'm saying? But the people think that so remembering your own faults, remembering your own loneliness before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not believing your own hype. You know what I'm saying? Not believing the hype that the people gas you up, that Sheikh al-Islam, so and so and so and so. You know what your faults are, and that humbles you as well. So those two things, and I'm putting both of those in spiritual categories. Having female advisors who love you and who care about you, and remembering your own faults, and like actually reminding yourself of that, so that humbles you, and thanking Allah that He don't expose their faults, and let the world see, all the scratches and bruises on your soul, that He doesn't let them see, and that they only see the veneer and the shine, for the world. That's my advice.
And one of the things that I say in relation to that, and it works for me, always hang and strive to be around people who are better than you in status.
Absolutely.
What keeps me grounded all the time is my teachers and my fellow imams who I see are doing far better than me in issues. And that always makes me know I got a lot more work to do, a lot more things I need to do to get myself, when I lose it, and I lose it a lot, if everybody around my community know, they call me, you know, this joke they got about me, man.
What they call
me? Be rough. They call me They call me what you call yourself. They call me the benevolent dictator. Imam Amin is a benevolent dictator.
Hey,
I said, you just threw me a punch and you put a nice title on it.
You is I and I am you. Who said that? Tupac, who was somebody, Snoop Dogg or somebody saying that. You and I am him. Oh, man.
So what I get constant is I always look at people above me, right? So I never get arrogant. And I always look at people below me, so I never forget the favors of Allah upon me. And that keeps me balanced to the best of my ability. So when I know that I got a long way to go, but then I don't get discouraged. I don't get discouraged by that, because I see people who ain't got where I'm got, and I thank Allah from where I'm at.
Right.
It keeps me balanced. That's what I do for myself. We're closing, so the most important part of this, we got to come back because we didn't get to the future, and we still didn't clarify the present. But you know, when we get to talking and we do our talk, you know how it go, man. It's an hour meeting turns into a 2-hour, 3-hour meeting.
Thank you, Imam Amin, and the people should recognize, you know what I mean? You folks in Atlantic City and you folks in New Jersey, what your Imam is doing, he's giving you access to him. He's giving you access to him. He's giving you access to people like him. So to recognize, this ain't just for us stroking our egos. This is for you to have access and to know what's going on in the minds of your leaders, your leadership, and your Imam. So alhamdulillah, Allah increase you, Imam Amin. And I just want to make sure that people recognize, you know, the blessing in you. You're a hidden gem, brother. I'm saying that if they don't know, you know what I mean, for you people, for my folks, if I can say that, you know what I'm saying? Imam Amin Muhammad is one of the hidden gems amongst the teachers of African Americans in this community. And he's a gem that we don't know about. And he's so humble. You know, y'all miss his movie. He threw me down. He said, that ain't no real library, right?
Hey, man, that was between me and you.
We got, all right, but I got it. I'm saying, but they don't know. They didn't catch that of the actual knowledge and access to knowledge that you have for the people, you know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah, so we thank Allah for you, man, and you know what I mean? That Allah increases you and advances you in the family and the work in Atlantic City and everything that you do, brother.
All right, now it's time for the business. We got to handle business. You know, we talk pleasure. Please, I want everyone to put in your what's that? Your text comments. Everyone type this.
And I can't see what y'all typing. It might be saying
Hajj Pros. Hajj Pros. Everyone put it, please. Hajj Pros. Everyone put it. Please put Hajj Pros. Everyone put it. Do you have a website?
HajjPros.com. We are one of the only actually licensed Hajj companies, alhamdulillah. Last year was our 18th year leading our people to Hajj, myself and my wife. My wife is the actual co-owner of our company. We started our company in Syria. Our teacher, our Imam, told us, lead yourself on Hajj. That was one of his directives, lead ourselves on Hajj. And that was one of the first initiatives that he had when he became the leader, was making us, leading our community on Hajj. So there's another one of his first. But alhamdulillah, so yeah, HajjPros.com. And also, Imam, we didn't talk about this, but you know, the sacred knowledge part, one of the other initiatives that we had, Essential Sacred Knowledge, for about 4 years. It got slowed down because of working things. We have a summer intensive where we take students to different countries. We did Morocco, we did Egypt, we did Saudi, for a month intensive with our teachers and connecting them with institutions of learning there. Essential Sacred Knowledge as well. But HajjPros.com, black owned, for you, with you, and by you. We do Umrah, we do Hajj, all of that, and you know, make sure that we love to serve you and your communities with that, y'all.
All right, we're looking at right now what I see on Facebook, around 67 to 70 people. We got people on Instagram. We got people on what's that called? YouTube. So it's a bunch of people. This probably will reach by tomorrow night, probably a little over 1,000 people.
Yes.
More. I want everyone to share on their pages with their friends, Hajj pros. For Umrah, for Hajj, for us, all of us go through Hajj pros.
Alhamdulillah.
We should make a covenant because all this is talk. All this Black Lives Matters, our new one, Black Muslims Matter. Black Muslims do matter. Don't forget that. Black Muslims matter. If we don't matter to ourselves, we definitely ain't gonna matter to nobody else.
Come on now.
For all of us, it should be that we're going to empower our businesses. Hajj pros, 18 years, been doing their thing. We should double, if not triple, what they've been doing already.
Alhamdulillah.
If we want to send a message to others that we matter, then we got to start doing for ourselves. If you're spending 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 for Hajj and Umrah, being overcharged, give that money back to your community. Give that to some brother who's been proven working in the community, on the ground, working with other imams. We need money. We got to have a real talk. All this, if we don't build financial enterprises, economic strength, we just rapping. No, that's real. I'm being honest. We talked about, everybody talk about, don't talk about Elijah Muhammad, don't talk about Imam Isa, don't talk about, all of them built empires.
Come on now.
We all broke and struggling. We got to change that narrative. If we're going to have our children loving to be Muslim, we got to show them how we are all across the board sound and stable. So for us, we got our brother, our imam from the inner city, from the hood, deal with our struggle, knows what we're going through. He got a business, we all going to support it. So and then when you support that business, those others are going to come say, since we ain't getting that black dollar no more, listen, how can we help? Okay, now we're going to negotiate with them too.
That's it.
You're going to have to put some money in the community or you ain't never getting another Hajj dollar or Umrah dollar. We consolidate. It's time for us to get the foot off our necks. And in order to do that, we got to be empowered. So please, every time you put a hashtag Hajj pros, hashtag Black Muslims matter. We got to push this issue till we empower our people.
And we appreciate you and thank you all for that.
Please, and push others. We can't, this ain't something like, he's not paying me, so don't worry. It ain't something I'm getting a bonus from. I mean, I hope he be a brother and say, listen, bro, you know, we got
you, man. We got you.
But no, we have a mission. So I want to share this because we have Ummah. You know, we did the Ummah Ramadan.
Yes.
Can't forget everything we're doing. So we have 5 masjids that have come together. Atlanta Masjid of Islam under Imam Sulaimaan, Isla LA under Imam Jihad, Masjid Sabur under Imam Fatin, and
Midtown
Mosque under Imam Hamza, and Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City. And we came together. We did the all program Ramadan. We're working on the year program. You know, every night we're doing programs on the Ummah page. I ask you to help us. We're trying to build an infrastructure that makes us as community successful. We got Imam Fahim in there, Imam Naeem, and there might be other imams with masjids. We intend to bring in all our resources to help each other to build strong communities in the inner city with Black people. We're dead serious, but we need your help. And maybe you might not have money, but you can encourage, you can spread the word. And if we can build $1 million companies, we can turn Hajj pros into a multi-million-dollar company because they have assets and resources to do other things, we can build these strong communities again. And we got to trust one another. We had a discussion earlier with the imams, and we said, listen, if we don't learn to love one another, if we don't learn, we don't need no paperwork, we don't need none of that crap. We need to learn to love each other first. He was talking about the nation. We love one another. We all we got. And we should have that New Jack City mentality. Am I not my brother's keeper?
There you talking.
That's how we gotta be. So I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you. Help us build. It's masjids, imams who are getting $100 a week. I'm talking about the whole masjid, $200 a week. Now we gotta help them. They are people. We can't leave the imams to be struggling, wonder how they're gonna pay their rent, either the masjid or their family. Come on, man. We can't do that. Because the immigrants and those other communities, they got a lot of money and they ain't giving it to us. I know organizations that got $300, $200, $500,000 of zakat money and they still ain't giving us nothing.
SubhanAllah.
And we ain't begging them. We're gonna build our own. And we going to empower ourselves. So Hajj pros, Hajj pros, Hajj pros.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Wa jazakumullahu khaira. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina. Here go Imam Hamza. Launchgood.com. Ramadan. We still got 30,000 to raise.
That's it.
May Allah reward you.
Ameen, ameen.
Thank you. Launchgood.com. Ramadan. We need help. May Allah reward you.
Ameen.
And may Allah reward all of us. Inshallah. We pray that we continue. Stay tuned. Follow the Ummah page every night from 8 o'clock to 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
I'll be on there on Friday.
Friday, Imam Sulaimaan. Jack my spot, but don't worry about it. It's cool. I'll wait till Monday. Nah. But every night we got something. Our sisters, they're ready. They're coming this month. They'll be on throughout the month. Stay there. I'll see y'all all who are attending the class tomorrow morning. And I thank you. Please, if you disagree, don't be disagreeable. Let us continue to build together. Overlook our shortcomings in which you disagree with. And time you'll benefit. You'll learn things that you didn't learn. You'll see things the way you didn't see it. It was a time, and those who know me, I had that concept that one of the sheikhs said, there'll be two people in the room, and they'll say, everybody is misguided except me and you, and I'm not too sure about you. And I'm patient with people who still feel like that, because I used to feel the same way. May Allah allow us to. May Allah bless us in knowledge. Jazakumullahu khaira. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam. Bisir asrar al-Fatiha.
Thank you, Imam.
Thank y'all for your patience. We wore y'all out, but y'all stayed there. We didn't lose numbers. They stayed for 2 hours and 8 minutes, and the numbers keep growing. May Allah reward you all. Without y'all, we couldn't do anything. Thank you very much. Thank you, Imam.
Thank you
for giving us a lot of energy over here. Jazakumullahu khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.